What's your I can't believe they got away with this in a kid show moment? There was some locally made British kids show back in the 1970s, I think, which signed off one day with a card saying "see you next time," with only the initial letters visible for a brief moment. I think someone got fired over it. I remember that Fairly Odd Parents episode where Timmy wishes he had never been born, or something along those lines, and then he ends up realizing that everyone, including his parents, is way happier without him. Seemed pretty dark for a kid's show to me. I know it's a parody of The Greatest Gift and It's a Wonderful Life, but to tell a child the world's better off without you. That's the road to suicidal ideation right there. And at one point, Timmy seems to resign himself to his fate. It's effing awful. The whole premise of the show was that Timmy was so neglected and emotionally abused that a society of fairies deemed him worthy of being given almost unlimited magic power to make up for it. Not to mention he had 2 fairies when most other kids only had 1. Just like Crocker, the same fairies. Who was majorly effed up. I hope Timmy is doing okay nowadays. Fairly Odd Parents was a show that thrived on giving things a spin. They loved to make parodies of different media but give them an ironic twist. To make Timmy's seemingly innocent wish backfire, having him undo everything by episode end. The only issue with making an opposite parody of It's a Wonderful Life is that you're left with an absolute downer of an episode with deeply morbid implications that stick through the end of the episode and leave a sour taste in your mouth. Jimmy Neutron when he is talking with his dad Hugh. His dad randomly says, "Once when I was 7, I sat on a banana. And of course, that changed my life." Jimmy and his mom's face say it all. YouTube link. We all make mistakes in the heat of passion, Jimbo. His head and nose are vaguely banana-shaped as well. I never know what's real or a meme with Jimmy's dad these days. Correct me if I'm wrong, The Amazing World of Gumball. Gumball had to blow Alan in the school's restroom. Gumball also just straight murders Alan in multiple episodes. So many characters just straight up die on that show, and next episode they are okay again. I always felt bad for the banana, dude got wrecked multiple times. You just reminded me, there is a scene in one of the later seasons where they walk in on the banana and he's watching videos of bananas getting peeled. I think they were oranges. I don't judge, dude must like interracial. The one that got me on Gumball was, P.S. Clip your nails, web link. Wasn't there also a scene from one of the episodes where Alan is eating an eggplant and another character points out that that isn't his mouth he is using? Edit, found it. Web link. Oh my F. I was holding it together until the pineapple. Hey, remember that time that Gumball walked in on Banana Joe watching PRN, and he even had tissues there? Gargoyles in 1994. In the episode Deadly Force, Broadway, one of the gargoyles who likes cowboy movies accidentally shoots Elisa the cop with her own gun in her apartment. Blood is shown on the floor and a seriously well done episode commences about the dangers of guns and how Elisa should have been more careful where she left it, and Broadway understands guns are not toys. It was banned for a while, but is now on Disney+. I keep forgetting Gargoyles is on Disney+, I need to go watch it. An episode of one of the incarnations of Scooby-Doo in the late 2000s. My niece loved watching them, so I would sit and watch with her. Basically, a guest character who is a cute blonde and is crushing on Fred turns coyly to him while stating, "I'm 18. Able to legally vote." For anyone looking. YouTube link. Haha, Daphne gives her the dirtiest look. I remember this one. It was a Halloween episode. Wasn't the blonde related to Velma in some way? That all seems very familiar, but it's been almost 15 years ago. The episode of Cow and Chicken where a group of very butch-looking female bikers called the Buffalo Gals show up and break into Cow and Chicken's house. They proceed to start munching on the house's carpet nonstop. They also play softball. Edit. I'd forgotten the part where the dad jumps scared into the mom's arms and she's like, "They're not here for you." Haha. Very subtle Cartoon Network lol. YouTube link. That's definitely a moment where they figured the kids would just think they were crazy but the adults would know. I always assumed it was an inside joke for the adults that have to watch the show with their kids. See, I kind of expected most of Cartoon Network's daytime content was aimed at college students. My nephews love Phineas and Ferb. One night when I was in college, my roommate and I came across it on TV and started watching. I texted my brother that it was legitimately funny. He texted back that him and his wife had just gone past that channel. His wife said, "Who is watching this at 10 p.m.? And my brother answered, "Stoned college kids." When I was a little kid, we had a huge set of dozens of Hungarian stories on cassette tapes. Every Hungarian kid I know had these, covering fairy tales of all sorts, and we'd listen to them before falling asleep at night. Anyway, there are definitely a few that once I was older I was like, wait, what? In particular, there's a fairy tale about a shepherd that never lies, and is entrusted to watch the king's sheep that has a golden fleeced sheep in it. Another king makes a wager with that king that he can get the trusted shepherd to lie, and to make it happen he sends his daughter the princess to the shepherd's field. Anyway, what then happens is they strike a bargain, and I directly translate, go under a blanket and play together all night long. After which, in the morning, she leaves with the golden sheep. I remember as a little kid really wondering what they were playing that would result in her getting the sheep. Chess? Cards? Edit. What then happens in the story is the king calls the shepherd in and asks what happened to the golden fleeced sheep, and both kings are sure he's going to lie. But then the shepherd says he traded the golden deer for a black-haired one. Then everyone has a good laugh about how clever he is, the shepherd marries the princess, and they all live happily ever after. Trust me guys, Hungarian fairy tales are weird. Isn't the same story, but another Hungarian folktale where a little princess exchanges sexual favors for livestock? Hungarian folktales basically commoditize sex for children. Edit. And now my most upvoted comment is about the bizarre adult content featured in Hungarian children's folktales. Thank you one and all. I look forward to the day when a potential employer rescinds their offer due to this right here. YouTube link. That is a really weird folktale. Thanks for sharing. Wait, not sharing. Scarring, that's it. Scarring my mind with that. Maybe off topic, but in Iceland a few years ago the national TV show The Teletubbies with the grown-up movie subtitles. That moment when Tinky Winky says, "I know you were high," and effed him behind my back. Kids these days. There's an episode of Adventure Time where Finn watches Marceline get naked from her closet and he just keeps watching because he's like 12. Also the time he danced on a pole for the gnomes forcefully. And in the New Distant Lands there's a flashback where Marcy took off her shirt. On the gore side, there's the part where Magic Man literally turns a bird inside out. Jake was traumatized. Honestly, any episode with Magic Man is pretty traumatic for kids. That one where he turned them into worms and Finn has a wife and children was wild. Now that I'm thinking about it, Finn had like 3 secret families. The episode with the deer. The creepy-ass deer. The deer broke both of Finn's legs in 2 places on screen. It gave Jake brain damage. After Finn woke up, Jake had gone crazy from the head trauma and loneliness, so Finn forced himself to accept that the friend/brother he knew was basically dead. Finn and Jake go into the sewer to find the deer who licks all the candy citizens and puts them in some kind of sap for 6 months. After Jake is hit in the head again and regains his memory, the deer takes off its hooves to reveal weird hand things. Jake drops 2 concrete blocks on the deer, snapping its neck again on screen. They get rid of the body. The hands. Yeah, there's his whole pillow family from the Pillow Fort EP, probably more, right? Yeah, there's even a joke about how in Finn's world blankets and pillows are made for bedding, and his future wife says, well, they're used for that here, too, and Finn blushes. Good stuff. And the Goblin King getting dethroned for smacking butts? That was so effing weird as well. I'm still not sure if Adventure Time is really for kids or stoners. As, I think, the original target demographic when it came out, it was geared towards older kids/preteens and aged with them and taught some really neat lessons in weird ways. Kids at that age are weird and kind of like little stoners that don't smoke lol. So both? Huh, I figured the Adventure Time moment would be when Finn references DMT, dimethyltryptamine from the pineal gland. Edit. YouTube link. When Mr. Krabs goes with SpongeBob and Patrick on a panty raid. Oh my god. The sheer fact that SpongeBob and Patrick like breaking into the homes of old ladies and stealing their underwear is something else. I thought the joke was that Mr. Krabs was the pervy one and SpongeBob and Patrick just didn't really understand what the point of a panty raid was supposed to be due to being naive and stupid. I think Tom Kenny said in an interview once that the point of SpongeBob and Patrick's dynamic was that SpongeBob was 50% stupid and 50% naive and Patrick was 100% stupid. 50% C, 50% weed. They're both innocently naive, but in that episode they both seem to know exactly what a panty raid is and why it's risque. I always interpreted it as them picking up on the vibe and parroting it without actually understanding why they would want to do that. Kind of like when a kid says something they shouldn't, like a curse or a sexual reference, because they heard someone else do so and picked up on the tone, cadence, but only on a surface level. To be fair, unlike Mr. Krabs, with SpongeBob and Patrick you totally can believe that they just heard about what a panty raid is and completely misconstrued it, hence them breaking into an old lady's home. They are too dumb and, in that regard, innocent really. Like, to them it's just a game, Mr. Krabs is really the only pervert there. To be fair, unlike Mr. Krabs, with SpongeBob and Patrick you totally can believe that they just heard about what a panty raid is and completely misconstrued it, hence them breaking into an old lady's home. They are too dumb and, in that regard, innocent really. Like, to them it's just a game, Mr. Krabs is really the only pervert there. I said, I guess you're going to miss the panty raid. You're taking about girls, right? Girls? Oh yeah. The DuckTales reboot has a scene where it cuts from one of the protagonists having her leg stuck under a heavy metal beam or something to her, 2 weeks later, walking around on a robot leg, and I think about the fact that this wholesome show canonically had a traumatized protagonist who cut off her own leg all the damn time. Hey, don't get it twisted, Della is a stone-cold badass who'll do anything for her kids. Edit, man, my first award. Well, in a few years of using Reddit, I was beginning to think it'd never happen, but I'd like to thank user 405 Freeway for this all-seeing upvote. I'd like to thank my parents, for raising me, and instilling me with the knowledge and wit required to find myself in the particular circumstances to making my particular remark about Della Duck, and most of all, I'd like to thank all of you, who've upvoted my reply. It's been a genuine pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, everybody. Reddit link. The fact that the DuckTales reboot actually made Della a real character, after her existing for over 80 years as nothing more than the reason Donald is always looking after his nephews, is genuinely amazing. There's an episode of Tom and Jerry called Blue Cat Blues. There Tom basically F's up his life going after a girl, and at the end it's heavily implied that he and Jerry kill themselves. I used to love that show as a kid, and when I was watching it with my nephew recently I realized how much of a bully Jerry was. Half the time Tom doesn't even want to deal with Jerry, he just is trying to live his life. I now root for Tom a lot more than I did as a kid. I still like the show, but it's brutal. When my friends and I would be at my house watching it, I always got stuck with whichever side character, such as Spike or his son, was also in the show. Courage the Cowardly Dog was nightmare fuel. I have no idea how they got that on primetime children's network. The other one that comes to mind is Animaniacs and their infamous fingerprints joke. Courage the Cowardly Dog was so brilliant. I loved that show when I was a kid. The King Ramses episode someone mentioned was one of my favorites. I also loved the Weremole one. Or that creepy one with the woman in the pipes. Eustace. The Animaniacs when they had Pablo Picasso. Did you know there's pee-pee on your smock? Can't find the clip, but here's the dialogue from my favorite Beethoven. I am Ludwig van Beethoven, world-famous composer and pianist. The Warners do a double take at his pronunciation of the word pianist. Yakko, you're a what? Beethoven, a pianist. Yakko, moi, good night, everybody. Beethoven, but that is what I am. A pianist. Yakko, I think we heard enough out of you. When SpongeBob is trying to get Gary in the bath, and he shows Gary doubloon soaps and says, "Look Gary, doubloons, don't drop 'em." With a wink. The SpongeBob episode where they learn a curse word, and even though it is bleep you still have SpongeBob basically saying nice effing day, Patrick. Fun fact, apparently all the voice actors were swearing for real, because it was easier to deliver their lines that way. I totally could tell they were, and they even animated the mouth movement to basically be saying F, and they used it in all the nonchalant casual cursing ways. Effing great episode. Hearing the uncensored episode would be the funniest thing ever. Too bad it will probably never be released. Edit, guys, the video you are linking is fake, although amazingly done. Nickelodeon probably burned the originals and buried the ashes. Tom Kenny said we ain't ever getting it. Specifically, he said it's buried deep. Someone, somewhere has it. The sacred texts. I think you mean, Dolphin Noises great episode. Hi, Squidward. How the F are you? Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.